Hello everybody, welcome back. If you don't know, my name is Elise. I am a type 1 diabetic of 9 years now, and my channel is all about type 1 diabetes, lifestyle, mental health, and just my life in general. If you're new here and you want to subscribe, please press the subscribe button so you can catch my content every week. I try to post every Monday, and sometimes it's diabetes related, sometimes it's not. Today it is. Pretty much every time I post a picture on my Instagram where I'm explaining what my blood sugar is, or I'm talking about blood sugar trends, I always get a comment saying, have you tried a CGM? They're great. You don't have to prick your finger. They give you alarms, or we'll get into that. But I get all these comments asking about that, and I want to let you guys know, I do know what a CGM is, which is a continuous glucose monitor, and I have tried one before, but my dog is legitimately like sticking his nose on my butt. If you have a continuous glucose monitor, it's something you have on your body that is constantly monitoring your glucose. So you are reducing those amounts of finger pricks, and you're basically able to see trends in your blood sugar. Someone said to me once that when you prick your finger, it's kind of just like taking a snapshot in that moment of what your blood sugar is, but when you have a continuous glucose monitor, it's showing you the trend, so you can kind of see which way you're headed, and that way you can kind of stop things in their track before you have a hypo or hyperglycemia episode. I have two main reasons why I have yet to get a CGM. The first one being, I've never really had an issue with pricking my fingers. It's never been something that's bothered me, maybe a little bit in the beginning when I was getting used to it. But for me, I never really understood why it bothered some people so much. For me, it's far less intimidating than an injection, and I'm just so used to it. So I didn't really understand until recently just all of the features of the CGM that makes it so amazing. And that is why I am now in the process of trying to get one. I mean, I say that, but I really haven't started. I'm about to be in the process of trying to get one. So that was the first reason. The second reason being that I'm a little bit wary of the technology, and I have tried one before, and I've always said on here and said to friends and family that have asked about it that I'm simply just waiting for the technology to be where I want it to be, because I am very nervous about new medical technology, and I am very scared of change, to be honest, even if change can be good, which I am realizing now. So the one time that I did try a CGM, I believe it was 3 or 4 years ago, and it was the Dexcom. And I only tried it for a week. I found myself being easily annoyed by the alarms and the constant just awareness of what my sugar was. Granted, back then my blood sugars were better, my A1C was better. So I think I was just like, you know what, I already know my sugars are fine. I don't need constant reminders of what's going on. Also, I found a few times there were some inaccuracies that were a little bit scary, where it would alarm me in the middle of the night, telling me my blood sugar was high when it wasn't, or telling me it was low when it wasn't. And that made me very nervous. So I handed that CGM back to the endo at the end of the week and just said, this was cool, but I would like to see where this technology could be a few years down the road, and maybe I'll consider it again. Since then, since I have been a lot more involved on Instagram and Twitter talking about diabetes, I have seen a lot of different people that have CGMs, and I've been able to read what they're saying about it and see just how amazing it's been for them, and that has been a huge motivator in me wanting to get one for myself. I have seen how the technology has progressed over the past few years, and especially with the release of the Freestyle Libre and the Dexcom G6, I am very excited to see how people are loving it. So that is mainly why I'm like finally ready to take this leap, but I'm still a little bit nervous. These two brands that I am currently debating between are the Dexcom and the Freestyle Libre, and I asked you guys on Instagram which one you prefer, and you guys really came through. I asked, you know, Dexcom or Libre, and then I did it in a question form so that you guys could say exactly why you prefer one over the other, and I got some awesome responses, which just kind of like solidified in my mind the decision I'd already made, which is to get a Dexcom. But I do want to get into reasons why I like the Libre as well. And this is just me saying things I like about them without ever having any experience with either of them. I've watched some videos online. There are a couple that I will link down below for you guys if you want to see people who've actually tried both and compared them. In recent years, I have fallen a little bit off the grid when it comes to being aware of my diabetes and checking in with doctors about it. I made a video a while back about how I hadn't seen an endo in quite some time. Since then I have seen one, and I do have another appointment coming up in the next week. So I am fixing that, but during that time when I was you know, just kind of keeping to myself and kind of in this state of pretending that I didn't have diabetes, my A1C really suffered, and now I can definitely see the benefits of a CGM, and I'm just ready to get started. Now that I really need to be seeing where my blood sugars are at all the time and really figuring out what's going on at this time of the day or that time of the day and really just pinpointing what's going on, I would love to have a CGM so that I'm not constantly pricking my fingers, because as much as I say that I don't mind it, I actually don't do it as often as I should, and it's out of pure laziness. It's just every time that I get up to get a snack or I'm fixing to like go on a walk or anything where I typically should be checking my sugar, I just can't be bothered. And I know that's dumb, and I know it's my health and it's my responsibility to take care of it. But to be quite honest, I so often just don't do it because it's just easier not to. And if I had a CGM, that wouldn't really be an option. I would always have that data available to me, and then my endocrinologist can actually look at all of it and see trends and help me as they're supposed to. What really intrigues me about a CGM is the concept of seeing trends. So let's say that my sugar is in the 90s, which I really love to have sugars that are in the 90s because that's a good range for me. However, when I see a number that is below 100, even though that's typically not low unless it's like, depending on what it is for you, for me I would say under 70 is low for me, sometimes under 80 depending on how I'm feeling. But when it's a lower number, I immediately think, oh my gosh, I need to stop this from turning into a low blood sugar, because I know even though my blood sugar is good in that moment, I don't know whether it's going to be higher in like 5 minutes or lower, like detrimentally so. And that's what really bothers me, because even when I see a good number on my meter, I can't feel relieved in that moment because I'm so concerned thinking that I'm only going to enjoy having that great sugar for like 2 seconds and then it's going to turn into something bad. So what a CGM does is it allows you to see trends, to see if your sugar is good now, but it's heading in the higher direction or it's heading in the lower direction, so that I can anticipate what's going to happen to me. Because I can't tell you guys how many times I see that unicorn 100 number and then within 5 minutes I'm low, and it's like, well, great. Like, it almost makes me not want to have sugars that are under 100, which sounds silly because that's what I'm aiming for. As I've said on here before, I have crazy like hypoanxiety, so I do anything to avoid low blood sugars, and it's really been affecting my health lately. But anything to reduce that will be to my benefit. The main difference that I noticed in the answers I received was that the Dexcom has alarms which can let you know how those trends are happening, whereas the Libre, if you want to see your sugars, you have to scan it. And there are things about that I love and things I hate. So if going back to my mindset a few years ago when I did try one out, I think I would have liked the Libre more, simply because, like I said, I was really kind of annoyed by constantly hearing beeps and alarms and constantly knowing what my sugar was. It made me too aware of it to the point that I was stressing out over it more maybe than I should have. But probably at this point in my life, I need to be that aware, just that constant awareness. So I do think a Dexcom would benefit me more at this point. What I initially really liked about the Libre before it was released and I was seeing all the ads about it was the size. It just looked like a little coin. It just seemed really simple. And I've also heard that the Libre is in general cheaper. So cost is a huge factor for me as well, because that's something that makes me nervous with getting any new equipment, is understanding how much more that's going to cost my family per year. And if it's not worth it, then I don't want to do it. Another thing with the Dexcom is that you can link it to like an Apple Watch and you could see your trends there, and you can also invite your friends or family to see what your trends are. With me, I feel like that might be a little bit too much. I can be kind of secretive when it comes to my sugars because I already stress out over the numbers, and the idea of like my mother getting an alert in the middle of the day saying that something's going on makes me even more stressed out. And then there were those of you that just said they like the Dexcom because it's what you have. So I'm assuming that maybe you haven't tried both, or I don't know. That makes sense. I've only ever had the Omnipod, so I tend to say that I prefer the Omnipod, but it's just because I love it so much that I can't imagine having anything else. So makes sense. That's kind of where I am right now. The Libre is like the size thing. I really like that it's a little bit more discreet. I don't know anything about the insertion process. When I did have the Dexcom for that week, it seemed very simple. It was painless for me. My educator actually did it for me, and I remember just not noticing her putting it in at all, which was pretty cool. So getting back to my main question of why don't I have one yet, it mostly has to do with me still being very scared of the technology, even though I see so many positive things online about both the Dexcom and the Libre. And let me also mention there are other brands of CGMs. Those are just the ones I see the most and the two that I'm debating between. So if you have another type that you use, please put that in the comments below and let me know why you use that and why you prefer that one. But I still see things online like my sensor didn't last as long as it should have, or my readings were inaccurate, or it's not matching up, and things like that make me so incredibly nervous, especially when I consider the cost of these devices, and like just the fact that I know as soon as I put one on, I'm going to be wanting to rely on that to give me all the information I need and just kind of like have this weight lifted off my shoulders, because it's doing, you know, so much of the work for me. I'm still having to calculate and use that information to make the best decisions I can for my blood sugar, but just being able to wake up from a nap and just see what it is without pricking my finger, and just the convenience of always having that information available to me, whew, that's what I want. But then the idea of like that information ending up being inaccurate, or maybe there being something faulty with the sensor, that makes me nervous. But then again, that type of stuff happens with pods too, and I don't really have that many pod failures or that many issues with my insulin pump in general, and for the most part, when I do have negative experiences with my insulin pump, they seem to not outweigh the positive ones. So I'm hoping that's what's going to happen with the CGM. With that being said, I do have an endocrinologist appointment next week. I'm going to ask her about it. I am very nervous because I've asked this particular endo about it before, and she didn't seem to have a lot of information or seem to be very encouraging about it. And you know what? I can work around that, but there's just something about when somebody doesn't really respond positively to something that it makes me kind of like, So I will let you guys know what she said. If you have any like suggestions for what you think I should specifically say to her to bring up the topic, let me know. What did you say to your endo? I know that with Dexcom, they can send representatives and they can really work with you, so like if your endo doesn't know much about it, that they can really be a huge part of the education process and make it more user-friendly for you. So I know that's an option. Thank you guys for watching through to the end of this video. I appreciate your support as always. I will be back at you next Monday with a new video. Please give this video a thumbs up, and please subscribe if you haven't. If you are subscribed but you don't get notifications that say that I posted a new video, please click this bell button. It's down below the screen. It will let you know every time that I have posted new content. Bye!